Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Mélanie Filiatro and I'm the leader of marketing communications at MHIRJ. Today I'm really excited to introduce you to Amel Belkemsa, who is MHIRJ's head of aftermarket commercial services. Amel, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this today.
Thank you for having me, Mel. Very pleased to be with you guys today. It's a pleasure, despite the very cold weather we have.
So, Amel, you have a very challenging job. Tell us a little bit more about your role. What does the head of aftermarket commercial services do at MHIRJ?
Me and my team are responsible for channeling to market the services that we have in the aftermarket and that our customers depend on. We also have the responsibility of business development, so we look into all further opportunities to create value to the customer base. More recently as well, I've taken on spare parts operations, so we are as well responsible not just in the commercialization of our services, but also in the back-end delivery of the spare part delivery services as well.
So Amel, about 2 years ago when MHI purchased the CRJ program, the aftermarket part of the business became more prominent. And then, you had to deal with the worst crisis that this industry has ever known.
Yeah, so definitely COVID-19 brought in some incremental challenges. Everybody across the value stream, from our customers to our suppliers to ourselves, have had to go through some massive difficulties and difficult business decisions that needed to be made through the thick of the storm.
And you and your team came up with very creative solutions to some of these issues, right?
We had no choice but to react to some of the challenges that came our way. Within the security of supply roadmap, one immediate and evident requirement for us was to start looking at alternative material offering, right?
I know your team works in partnership with the customers to come up with some of these solutions, right? You want to be really patched into what they need.
In the business we are in, it's extremely important that the customer is part of the solution. We value transparency through the challenges we go through. Like I said, the idea is to be very open about it with the customer base and to integrate their feedback, their ground experience into the solution for us to be able to get to the right place. At the end, we have a vested interest in the success of our platform, in the success of the customers, so this partnership is really key to the viability of our company, but also to the viability of the CRJ.
What do you think that MHI as a parent brings to that dynamic?
Being backed by a multinational allows us to make sometimes riskier but proper decisions when it comes to the way we need to conduct our business. A very recent example is that across the deep ends of the pandemic, we were able, for example, as MHIRJ, to continue to provision, acquire, and plan for material, while, quite frankly, the demand coming from the customer base was extremely compressed, right? I think within probably 4 weeks, we lost about 75% of the demand requirement coming from the customer base because naturally the world was disrupted, the operations were at their outmost low, and the customers were not necessarily ordering anymore. We knew, however, at that time that it was only a question of time, okay? And so while a lot of other players were not lucky enough to be able to make that call, we made the call to continue to provision, to maintain the inventory levels what they needed to be. And I'm convinced that at the time when the airline industry came back and when the pent-up demand came our way and airlines were getting ready again for the past summer, our ability to be able to offer that material at the right inventory levels really brought in some relief to the customers.
Yeah, we were able to respond to customer demand, even a demand that is even higher than we anticipated.
The recovery of our industry really followed a curve that was with a little bit of anticipation as compared to what we were studying, and that really came with the fact that heavy maintenance activities needed to take place for readiness for the summer, and there had been a real curtailment in material consumption for a few months. So when all of that came back towards the readiness for operations again, it came in at a level that was higher than we all anticipated. And again, the fact that through the thick of the storm we continued to invest in the material in light of the upcoming readiness, I think was the right decision, while risky at the time was the right decision to make.
So in the context of worldwide supply chain disruptions, your team had to come up with alternative solutions, right?
There's a few things, right, we put in place in order to cope with some of the difficulties that came our way. One of them is making available some used serviceable material. And this is where really the agreement with Regional One became very relevant to our world and to the customer base as well. We knew that in a context of being out of production, the accessibility to long lead time parts would become very challenging. And so with Regional One, it was really a win-win for us to gain access to used material inventory, repair that material within the OEM component repair and overhaul facility that we have in West Virginia, and make it available as an alternate source of parts to our customer base.
What do you think are the opportunities for growth at MHIRJ?
Our DNA is anchored around our OEM responsibility. However, we have a ton of opportunities for growth, some of which we have been pursuing even emerging out of the COVID-19 storm. We are looking at expanding our used serviceable material availability as an integral part of the security of supply roadmap in transitioning the program out of production. We are expanding the footprint, the repair footprint for component repair and overhaul in West Virginia. We're naturally expanding our heavy maintenance activities as well. We will study anything that brings value to the CRJ customer base. I will say it again, we have a vested interest in the viability of that platform, and so all of our growth roadmap will be anchored around the longevity of the fleet.
So as a leader, what is your main takeaway from the last 2 years?
The first takeaway is really one that we knew but was reaffirmed as we emerge slowly from the pandemic. And it's that our industry is resilient, right? And I think it's very important that we keep that in mind when making business decisions as we emerge through the pandemic. The second important element that in my mind came through is that, again, while we knew it, it's never been more important that our companies are about people at the end, right? It's becoming a more important topic as we realize that without our workforce, really, there's nothing behind it.
So as you alluded to, probably our next challenge as an industry is going to be a shortage of labor. So how would you inspire young men and women to jump into this industry?
Yeah, we are seeing and we're getting signals that there will be some shortages in various areas of labor requirement in our industry. I think that, well, first of all, as leaders, we're going to have to, and as an OEM, we're going to have to play an active role in our ability to work hand in hand with the customer base and make sure that we attract the right workforce to sustain our industry. But as well, you know, I'd like to say working in the aviation sector is a bit of a dream, right? I mean, we have a higher calling, we help people move, we help people see their loved ones, we help people travel the world, explore the world. It's an extremely exciting element to keep in mind, and being able to contribute to that, I find, is very, very rewarding. So I hope that, you know, that will touch upon the ears of some of the individuals hearing us and will attract them to maybe looking into our industry as well.
Well, thank you so much, Amel, for being here. This was a very interesting and insightful conversation.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.